This is Teacher Grandma, a teacher for 34 years and a grandmother of two pretty little girls. Over the past 2 days, we have faced the death of Sushant Singh Rajput. And in the event of what has happened, I have had many students who have asked me to speak about depression, how to cope, how to deal. And so I decided, let me put out a little information to you. First of all, what is the reason why people commit suicide? And so I say understanding suicide or depression or this lack of being able to deal with situations. In psychology, we have studied IQ. Many of you will know IQ. IQ is the intelligence quotient of a person, the ability of a person to comprehend, that is to understand, to memorize, to recall, and even to solve maths problems. And schools do a fantastic job of developing this. Besides the IQ, we also have some other cues, and I want to explain to you these other cues. The second one is emotional quotient. And what is this emotional quotient? This emotional quotient is your ability to be at peace, to be at peace with others, to be responsible, to be honest, to respect boundaries, to be considerate and humble. We also call this our character. The third one is our social quotient, and today we are more aware of it because of the internet and the social sites like Facebook and Instagram. Now, this social quotient is your ability to have friends. Not just have friends and then you don't have them after some time because you don't like what they're talking about or you don't like who they are, but to maintain friendships over a long period of time. I hear very often my students saying is, she is my childhood friend, ma'am. So when you have a friendship that has sustained over a long period of time, your social quotient is relatively good. And the fourth, which I want to focus mostly on, is the AQ. And the AQ is the adversity quotient. What is this adversity quotient? This adversity quotient is a person's ability to go through a rough patch and get out of it. People who don't have a good adversity quotient would be people who would give up on their family, people who would give up on life. These people go through periods of depression. These people go through the unpreparedness for life. And today I find that many of our children in schools, in colleges, don't have this adversity quotient because parents want to take anything and everything available to their child so that their child has whatever it is that they want. Parents, you are not developing their adversity quotient. They throw a tantrum and you buy them a phone which you cannot afford to have. That does not build their adversity quotient. You got to develop your son and your daughter's adversity quotient. Children, you have to develop your own adversity quotient. 3 days ago, a student of mine phoned me up at 1:45 in the morning. And I normally don't take calls after 10. But it seemed a little bit panicky, so I took the call. These days I'm sleeping a little later because of the stay at home. And so when I picked up the phone, on the other side of the phone was a boy whose father had just been diagnosed with corona. And he was crying on the phone and saying, what do I do? Why is this happening? I had to talk to that child And I had to make that child understand that life is not just a straight line. When it's a straight line, you have no life. In fact, when you are in the hospital, you notice that as long as there are ups and downs, there's life in the person. The minute it becomes straight, life goes out of that person. And I had to tell this student of mine that things will be better, that he has to be able to handle the situation. And he asked me one question. He said, "Ma'am, have you gone through something like this?" And I said, "Yes, I have." Some years, the husband was diagnosed with malaria falciparum, vivax, and jaundice. And the doctor called me when he was in the ICU and told me he has 3 hours to live because he was suffering from multiple organ failure. I told the doctor, "Doctor, you do your job. You do your medicine. You believe in science and medicine, you do your job." And he thought, this lady is not understanding what I'm saying. I had understood very, very well. I went to my house. He said, "Ma'am, speak to your husband. Tell him what you want to say to him." I went to my husband. My husband is a hockey player. And I said to him, "You've played many hockey matches and I'm not bothered about the result of those matches. But this match you are fighting for me. You better don't give up." Having done that, I walked out of the ICU, called my aunt and told my aunt to call my family who was out of India and inform them of my predicament, not to call me, not to come to the hospital, not to do anything, just pray for my husband. I said, if we storm heaven, we can get through this. And cut the call, and with tears in my eyes, I walked straight to the chapel of the hospital. I sat in the chapel and there I fought with God, and I told God that He doesn't have the right to take my husband. I'm not ready to give him up. And you better wake up from your sleep and better make the man well. Well, my husband spent 23 days in the ICU, but he did come out of it. And I said this story to my student to tell my student that if I could do it, if I could accept and I could stand strong, so could he. I told him, "Son, you are fighting for yourself, but more importantly, you are fighting for your father who is sick with corona. If he knows you are fighting for him, he will fight for himself." I hope the man gets well, and I hope my student is okay. He did call to tell me that he had been able to hold himself up and talk to his mother and sister at home. Today we find ourselves in this predicament of coronavirus. Today we find ourselves dealing with things which we never expected to deal with. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay that these things are happening in our lives. We will be better for it. We will be better because we've gone through it. Parents, I want to tell you, do not prepare the road for your children. Prepare your children for the road. Make your children strong, that they will not be in a situation where they think my life is not valuable. In my first of my series of videos, I have done one video of loving yourself. And I believe that if we love ourselves a lot, if we learn to love ourselves and we know that we are enough, no matter the bullies in our lives, no matter the problems in our lives, we will be strong. We will get through this together. This is Teacher Grandma signing off, saying bye-bye.